You're watching South Asia Newsline and have the top stories we are tracking for you on Monday, the 9th of December. India calls for inclusive political process in Syria after rebel takeover. India's Foreign Secretary visits Bangladesh amid frosty ties. And massive protest in POJK force government to withdraw controversial law. And now for all the details. Monitoring the unfolding developments in Syria, India on Monday called for a peaceful and inclusive Syrian-led political process to bring stability. This comes as rebel forces managed to capture Damascus on Sunday, forcing President Bashar al-Assad to flee from the country to Russia. India's Foreign Ministry in a statement said that India underlines the need for all parties to work towards preserving the unity, and India's embassy in Damascus is in contact with the Indian community for their safety and security. New Delhi has also issued a travel advisory asking Indians to avoid travelling to Syria and urged those staying there to exercise utmost precaution. The Syrian conflict since 2011 had been frozen for the last few years, and the Assad regime had managed to stave off any possible insurrection. Both India and Syria have enjoyed cordial and peaceful diplomatic relations under the Assad regime. But with the fall of the Assad government, there could be shift in the dynamics between the two countries. The third week of the Indian Parliament's winter session saw repeated disruptions on Monday as opposition parties demanded a discussion on various issues of national importance. Leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi staged an interview with two Congress MPs who wore masks of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and billionaire Gautam Adani during a parliament protest seeking a discussion over US bribery allegations against the Adani group. Meanwhile, Union Minister of Parliamentary Affairs Kiran Rijiju said that the alleged links between the Congress and Hungarian-American businessman George Soros should be considered serious and urged the opposition parties to fight unitedly against anti-India forces. The statement came after the BJP alleged that former Congress President Sonia Gandhi has links to an organization financed by the George Soros Foundation, which has backed the idea of Kashmir as an independent nation. The ruling party has on multiple occasions accused Soros of being an anti-national force, with Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar calling him old, opinionated and dangerous in 2023. And amid escalating tensions, India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri arrived in Bangladesh on Monday on a day-long visit to hold talks with his Bangladeshi counterpart and Interim Government head Mohammad Yunus. This was the first ever visit by any Indian official after the ouster of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. The discussions covered a broad range of issues between the two nations. Misri's visit comes amid reports of attacks on Hindus and other religious minorities in Bangladesh and the arrest of Hindu monk Chinmoy Krishnadas, over which India has repeatedly expressed concern. The arrest has led to anti-Bangladesh rallies in India. New Delhi has urged Dhaka's interim government to uphold its responsibility of protecting the minorities. Moving on, massive protests in POJK have forced the government to withdraw a controversial presidential ordinance that restricted public protest. The move comes after days of unrest, widespread demonstrations and a region-wide strike.
After days of unrest in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, the government on Sunday withdrew a controversial presidential ordinance which mandated prior government permission for public protests. Sensing growing public resentment amid a shutdown strike and massive demonstrations, President Barrister Sultan Mahmood announced withdrawal of the ordinance, and government officials held formal negotiations, resulting in a written agreement.
तमाम जो आज मुबारकबाद के मुस्तहिक है, जिन्होंने रियासत के वसाइलों पर, जिन्होंने रियासत को जरगमाल बना के सियासतदानों और ब्यूरोक्रेटों को आज मुकम्मल तौर पर जवाब दिया, आज मुकम्मल तौर पर इस चीज का साबित कर दिया कि आजाद कश्मीर की रियासत, इसका अपना कानून है, इसका अपना एक सिस्टम है।
POJK Prime Minister Anwarul Haq cited security concerns to be the only reason prior permission clause was put in the ordinance. Reports suggest the agreement included a commitment to withdrawing all cases against activists and compensation for victims of the May 13 firing incidents. Despite the region's strategic importance, the people of POJK have long suffered under an oppressive regime where their rights, basic needs and aspirations are consistently overlooked.
Moving on, the Sri Lankan Navy has apprehended 8 Indian fishermen and captured 2 boats on Sunday for allegedly crossing into its maritime boundaries. This incident follows a series of similar apprehensions. A statement by the Lankan Navy said this year alone they have seized a total of 70 Indian trawlers and 537 Indian fishermen for alleged poaching. The prolonged dispute over fishing rights has been a source of tension between India and Sri Lanka for many years as they share an expansive oceanic border without any perceptible demarcation. Fishermen from both sides frequently stray into each other's territory while netting their catch and end up spending years in jails. And the Kaski District Court in Nepal has granted police the permission to hold Rastriya Swatantra Party chief Rabi Lamichhane in custody for 4 more days for further investigation on charges of cooperative fund embezzlement and organized crime. The police are probing allegations that Lamichhane misused cooperative funds through Gorkha Media Network, where he served as a director before entering politics. He was initially arrested in October, followed by a parliamentary probe which indicted him and others for the embezzlement of millions of rupees from the cooperative. He has, however, denied the charges. The case has drawn significant public attention due to Lamichhane's political prominence and the involvement of other high-profile figures. That's all in tonight's edition.